Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues. Welcome to the first meeting of the Liverpool City Region Audit and Governance Committee. I would like to welcome all those members present. The meeting will be broadcast live to the Combined Authority website and will be available for subsequent viewing. Members and officers, can I please ask you to ensure that when you wish to speak, you indicate so in the chat box. When you are invited to speak, please unmute your microphone, switch on the camera. Please don't forget to turn your mic and camera off immediately afterwards. And finally, can everyone ensure that their telephones are switched to silent? If I may move to the first item of business, which is the appointment of a chair for the committee for the municipal year 2020 to 2021. Please may I have some nominations?
Sorry, can I just come in? I'm finding where I can't find the chat box, but can I nominate Louise Whiteley, please, for chair?
Councillor Whitley, is that seconded?
Yes, sorry.
Councillor Whitley, is that seconded, that nomination for chair of position of chair for Councillor Whitley?
I'll second that, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Pugh. I'm pleased to confirm that Councillor Whitley has been put into the position of chairman of the committee. We now move to item 2, which is the appointment of a vice chair for the committee. Please may I have nominations?
Shall I nominate Councillor Finneran, as that helps?
Thank you, Councillor Pugh. Councillor Finneran's nominated to the position of Vice Chair. Is that seconded?
It's seconded.
Thank you, Councillor Mayor. I'm pleased to confirm that Councillor Finneran has been nominated to the position of Vice Chair for the Committee for Audit and Governance Committee for the year 2020 to 2021. If we're able to proceed with the meeting and move on to item 3, thank you very much.
Hi, thank you for the nomination for chair. So to move on to number 3, are there any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Chair. We've received apologies from Councillors Hackett, Baines, Morgan and Sir Ron Watson.
And are there any other apologies? And are there any other apologies?
We haven't received any, Chair.
Thank you. Number 4, declarations of interest. Have any declarations of interest been received, or would members like to declare any interest on any items on the agenda, please?
Thank you, Chair. We've had no declarations of interest for this meeting so far.
Thank you. So we move on to number 5. The minutes of the previous meeting of the Audit and Governance Committee held on the 11th of March 2019 are included at pages 1 to 8. Can I ask if these are agreed, please?
Agreed.
Agreed. Agreed.
Thank you. So we move on to item number 6, process for dealing with complaints against members. Can I invite Jill Cool, Monitoring Officer, to present the process for dealing with complaints against members, please?
Thank you, Chair. This is to advise members that as a small combined authority with only 7 members of the authority, complaints is a rare issue for us to deal with. But it's important that when we do have a complaint that we have an appropriate process in place to deal and respond to that complaint, particularly in light of the fact that combined authority members are in fact leaders of councils, so will inevitably be high profile individuals. So in that vein, we're asking for a small task and finish working group to be set up between now and the December Audit and Governance Committee meeting to review and establish a review of the procedures so that we can present those to members at the meeting in December for consideration. I anticipate that the working group would meet 2 to 3 times maximum and will be presented with a range of choices and options in respect of how the complaints are handled. Members will be familiar with in their own constituent authorities of how the complaints are handled and how it draws on a wider membership from across the council in order to achieve different stages of the process. And that's a little bit more tricky for us to achieve here with only having 7 statutory members for the combined authority. So there's some choices and options about how that's processed, and we'd like members' input to secure that outcome to make a recommendation to the committee with subsequent adoption into the Constitution next year. It would be helpful if members could nominate themselves for the group.
Can I nominate myself, please?
Thank you, Councillor Finneran.
I'd be happy to work on it too, if that's useful.
Thank you, Councillor Pugh.
And myself as well, Jill.
Thank you, Councillor Whitley. That's really helpful. Much appreciated.
Okay, does that close that then? And we move on to number 7, safeguarding protocol. I'd like to invite Edward Wrightson to take us through the safeguarding protocol.
Thank you, Chair. So, as alluded to within the covering report on this item, last year a working group was set up within the Combined Authority to implement a safeguarding policy for the organisation. What became clear early on in this process was that the Combined Authority was not subject to the same statutory obligations for safeguarding as its constituent local authorities, obligations which I'm sure councillors will be familiar with. However, the Combined Authority nevertheless felt a moral and ethical obligation to demonstrate a commitment to safeguarding vulnerable groups within its area and assist our constituent local authorities in this pursuit. The vision of the Care Act 2014, the principal legislation for safeguarding adults, states that ultimately safeguarding should be everyone's responsibility. And in seeking to be a responsible organisation, we have recognised that we do have a part to play, as we may well encounter vulnerable individuals, whether in our transport hubs or through specific schemes we run, such as Housing First or Households into Work. As a result, the organisation's safeguarding policy, as well as a procedure for reporting concerns, were implemented in May of 2019, with the intention being to review these on an annual basis to ensure continuing adherence to best practice. Earlier this year, a working group, with assistance from Sefton's safeguarding team, identified a number of areas within the now titled Safeguarding Protocol, as well as its associated practices, that required refinement. For example, ensuring that the terminology used throughout was consistent with the Care Act. Further, the working group identified individuals throughout the organisation to be designated safeguarding leads. These will act as clearly signposted safeguarding champions within their directorates and will be the first point of contact where any safeguarding concerns are held by members of the organisation. A safeguarding forum will also be established. This will be chaired by the director responsible for safeguarding, John Fogarty, or the chief legal officer as his deputy. The intention is to create a forum where ideas can be exchanged on the practical application of this protocol and to share lessons learned through dealing with safeguarding concerns. A sub-forum will also be established to act as a crisis group, convened as necessary to review specific safeguarding incidents as and when they arise. This sub-forum will facilitate rapid information sharing and decision-making to quickly assess whether the organisation is required to take any additional action further to involving its local authority partners. Finally, Sefton Council are developing bespoke safeguarding training for our organisation. The intensity and level of training received by employees will be proportionate to either their seniority or their potential interaction with vulnerable groups. This will range from completion of an e-learning module for all employees, predominantly targeted at office-based staff, to a half-day course tailored to either directors and heads of service or frontline operational staff. That concludes my comments on the subject and the report, and I would invite members to note the contents of this report and approve the revised safeguarding protocol. I trust that these arrangements outlined will provide assurance to members of the seriousness with which the organisation is dealing with this somewhat sensitive issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Edward. I'm of the understanding that this is actually your first time presenting a report like this, and I think your delivery has been excellent and the content as well. So thank you for that. Are there any questions, members?
Councillor Whitley, Councillor John Pugh has indicated he wishes to speak.
Okay, Councillor Pugh.
Yeah, But very quickly, and congratulations again, everybody, on the presentation. It was splendidly brief and to the point. In some ways, though, we are inheriting a lot from Merseyside Passenger Transport Authority, aren't we? The bulk of the area, most of the areas that we're going to be considering are going to be related in some way or other to them. Have they not got an existing safeguarding policy that we can, as well, not exactly cut and paste, but use, implement, and learn from?
May I assist? Thank you. To assist Edward here, if I may, Chair, the procedures that we have looked at were the ones that we adapted last year. Were from Mersey Travel when we adopted them in May 2019. What we've done since then is work through what the implications are for the combined authority and recognised the different functions and service areas that they are developing and hold, and tried to have a policy that will cover all of the circumstances that cover both of the entities. So the Mersey Travel Audit and Risk Committee will receive information about safeguarding, but so will you as a combined authority Audit and Governance Committee.
Does that answer your questions?
Yeah, I think largely, I mean, there must be some areas not covered by existing protocols available to the Merseyside Passenger Transport Authority. And I recognise they'll be quite small in many respects, but I would have thought the bulk of the incidents that are going to create safeguarding issues are going to be on the transport network.
I can't disagree with you, but sorry.
No, please, Jill, step in, please. Thank you.
I can't disagree with you, Councillor Pugh. I think there is a practice, an established practice for Mersey Travel to deal with these issues, but as we deal with services like households into work, like Housing First, those service areas do require to be caught by a safeguarding process and procedure, and the aim is to assure members that we are cognizant of all of the issues. Whilst not under statutory obligation, we are working with the constituent local authorities to ensure that safeguarding is handled appropriately, sensitively, escalated as necessary in those areas, service areas that we hold.
Thanks for that, Chair.
Okay, any other questions?
No one else has indicated they wish to speak, Councillor Whitley.
Thank you, Trudy. So can we agree the recommendations as set out on page 9 then, please?
Agreed.
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 Fabulous. Item number 8, Insurance Claims Review, July 2020. Can I ask the Monitoring Officer, Jill Cool, to take us through the Insurance Claims Review, please? Jill, could you unmute your microphone, please?
Sorry. I'll get the hang of it. The internal audit process recommended that we provide assurance to the Audit and Governance Committee of the process that we held to deal with insurance claims. So the report sets out the number of claims that we have, the values, the instances, and the type of claims that we hold. It's an informative report and hope that you find it helpful. We ask you to note the report.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you, Jill. I'm having problems unmuting my microphone as well. I was going to say,
Agreed.
do we agree the recommendations as set out on page 51?
Yeah.
But thank you, everybody, for being ahead of me. So, item number 9, Audit and Governance Annual Report. Can I ask Shauna Phillips, Democratic Services, to take us through the Audit and Governance Annual Report? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The report that you have in your agenda outlines the activity that's been undertaken by the committee during 2019-2020, and it proposes a work plan for 2020-21. Any amendments to the proposed work plan will be made in consultation with the Chairperson, Vice Chair, Head of Internal Audit and the Monitoring Officer. Members are asked to consider any training they would like to undertake over the next 12 months and to agree the recommendations set out on page 55 of the agenda. I'm happy to take any questions members may have, or alternatively, if members wish to contact me with any suggestions for the work programme or any ideas around training, I'll action those as well for you.
Thank you, Shauna. Any questions, members?
We haven't been indicated of any questions, Councillor Whitley.
Thank you. Can we agree the recommendations as set out on page 55 of the report, please?
Agreed.
Thank you. So moving on to number 10, Head of Internal Audit Annual Report and Opinion 2019-20. Can I ask Laura Williams to take us through this report, please?
Thank you, Chair. So this report, rather belatedly, unfortunately, because of the timing of this meeting, gives you the statutory or fulfills the statutory requirement within the public sector internal audit standards for me as the head of internal audit to provide an opinion on an annual basis on the control environment and management of risk within the organisation. This report sets out that opinion for the financial year 2019-20 and sets out that opinion and also the work that has been done to arrive at that opinion. Members will note that the overall opinion on that control environment for the year is given as adequate. And that is, whilst it sounds a rather modest opinion, is as positive as convention dictates. But also I should draw to your attention the fact that there is a positive capacity for improvement rating as well of good. And that is an improvement on last year where the overall opinion was inadequate. And that was in acknowledgement of the fact that the arrangements for the combined authority were very much developing through the last financial year, and the report acknowledges the great progress that has been made. As I say, the report takes you through in some detail the amount of work that has been undertaken, also gives some narrative on the activity of the internal audit service during the year, and talks about such matters as counter fraud, the impact of the coronavirus pandemic at the back end of the last financial year, etc. I'm very happy to take any questions on the report.
Do members have any comments?
Thank you, Chair. No members have indicated they wish to speak in the chat box.
Okay, can we now agree the recommendations are set out on page 103 of the report, please?
Agreed.
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 Thank you, members. So we move on to number 12, the Internal Audit Plan and Charter 2020-21. Laura Williams is going to take us through the following plan.
Thank you, Chair. I think there might be a slight difference in order of items here. I think item 11 is down on my pack as internal audit performance, so I'll take that one next if that's okay.
Yeah, just let me have a look, and I've got two different things. So number 11 is, yeah, sorry.
No problem. Okay, so this report details the work of the internal audit service during Q4 of the last financial year and Q1 of this financial year. Again, very much part and parcel of the public sector internal audit standards. It's incumbent upon us to give some detail around our activities during the quarters and to draw to your attention significant pieces of work and recommendations and indeed progress in terms of implementing those recommendations over time. The report also gives a broader update in terms of the resources of the service, some of the changes to the structure that we have encountered during those quarters, and positive developments to the service in that light, and also picks up on the developments around coronavirus and the impact of that, obviously, on the team and the delivery. But I'm pleased to say that the overall picture is positive, and that is reflected in the report. I'm very happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions, members?
Chair, no one has indicated they wish to speak in the chat box.
Okay, thank you, Trudy. Can we agree the recommendations? I'm not quite sure here because I've got number 10, Head of Internal Audit, Annual Report and Opinion, and number 11, Internal Audit Performance. So I've just lost slight track here. So which one are we?
Those recommendations relate to the next item, which is the Internal Audit Plan.
Number 11, the Internal Audit
Yeah.
Performance. Okay, so it is page 103 of the report. So can we agree the recommendations are set out on page 103 of the report, please?
Agreed.
Agreed.
All right, thank you, members. So do we go back to number 10 or are we moving on to number 12?
Item 12, Chair, which is the Internal Audit Plan and Charter. If I may.
Thank you. I think I'm back with it now. Okay, Laura, could you take us through that report, please?
Certainly, thank you, Chair. So members may remember that at the March meeting of this committee, I presented these items to you. Obviously, significant changes happened on a number of fronts since then, and that has meant that we have reviewed the internal audit plan to take on board the significant changes in the organisation's risk profile suggested by the coronavirus pandemic. And so members will note that the report details a number of specific pieces of work that have been brought into the plan, obviously at the expense of some of the lower areas of risk, to accommodate those significant areas of the organisation's risk profile. Members did indicate that they were happy with the plan as it was originally. As I say, this really is to refresh members' view on that and to notify them of those changes. The Internal Audit Charter is also a document which is required by the Public Sector Internal Audit Standards, and that is included for your information, for your approval. This sets out the role and purpose of internal audit, the authority of internal audit, and how we carry out our work, and particularly with regard to our ethical standards and behaviour. Very happy again to take any questions on the report.
Are there any comments, members?
No one's indicated they wish to speak. Oh, sorry, Councillor Cameron. I would like to speak, Councillor Whitley.
Okay, Councillor Cameron, go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks. I've been going through some of the reports and looking at everything that's being presented on Friday, so I'm not sure. I'm unsure if this is an appropriate point to ask, but in terms of the unique position we have with Mersey Travel and the LEP and the growth funds, and it's all slightly unique and feels quite crisscross to me. But just in terms of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee and governance in general, none of the documentation refers to pre-decision scrutiny. Even the papers for Friday, it has a diagram of committees. It says the Transport Committee is non-statutory, we know that, and it says the Overview and Scrutiny Committee can review and or scrutinise decisions made by the Combined Authority or the Metro Mayor. It's always past tense. It's always, you can scrutinise or you can review that decision that's already been made. And I can't find in the legal personas of each of the separate ones and appointments to individual bodies within the group, I can't find anywhere where it doesn't say past tense and as though scrutiny is an afterthought. So it's really a general point that I'm hoping you can clarify for me.
Laura, could you respond? Or is this something that Jill would
I'm not sure I can actually. I would defer to Jill on that one if I may.
Yeah.
Okay.
Has Jill left, or do we have John Fogarty that could answer that? Or is it something that we'd have to give a written answer on?
Councillor Whitley, I'm still in the meeting and I'm pleased
Fabulous,
to report
Jill.
that my other engagements I no longer need to leave for, so I will be staying with you throughout the meeting, and it is Mr Fogarty who will need to depart. So I'll be here for you. So in respect to the question that Councillor Cameron's raised, if I've understood it correctly, you're asking whether there could be more pre-scrutiny to the aspects of work that are carried out by both Mersey Travel, the Combined Authority, and indeed some of the associated bodies like the LEP Board. Can I just clarify that I've understood the question correctly, Councillor Cameron, and invite you to confirm that for me before I proceed?
Yes. So it's clarity that I need around why the phrasing. So if we're writing a charter, or if there are the National Local Growth Assurance Framework being presented on Friday, all of the documentation I'm seeing, it's about the phrasing. It always is past tense. It always refers to decisions that have been made, and we're appointing Combined Authority people to Mersey Travel boards. We have Mersey Travel auditors on the growth funds. I think it's fairly complex as it is, and then we have everything phrased in past tense. So be it a charter, be it a framework, be it whatever. My question is around none of the documentation even looks like pre-decision scrutiny would be welcomed.
Okay, I've understood your point. Thank you, Councillor Cameron, for indulging me. I think your point is well made. We do live in a very complex landscape of a number of structures, statutory structures, non-statutory structures, or non-statutory committees that we're involved in. I think I would confirm, and I'm glad to say that we have the benefit of the scrutiny officer, the statutory scrutiny officer, on the call with us today. So if she has anything to add, I'm sure she will chip in. But I think I can confirm that although the language perhaps doesn't reflect that ability, and that's something we can perhaps take into account of pre-scrutiny, when advising and working with the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, which I know you are all members of, we would always say that it's within the auspice of you to select and identify items in advance. We obviously try and bring them forward. We've got into a very good and robust habit, for example, of making sure that we have pre-scrutiny on the budget, which was something we weren't doing a couple of years ago, but we now do. But that's not to say that there isn't room for improvement in that regard. So I think I take that challenge, that comment that you've made to us, and see if we can translate that into A, in a bit more action, and B, into a bit of the language that we use as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any more comments?
Councillor Whitley, it's Trudy here. I don't know if you want me to come in on the back of Jill's comment.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, that.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. I would just want to concur with Jill. I hope I apologise that it comes across that pre-decision scrutiny isn't welcome. That's very much not where we are. Part of scrutiny's role is to undertake pre-decision policy scrutiny. So that's something that we will certainly look to reflect within the working plan for the committee. And if you do have any issues, any policy ideas that you wish for the committee, the scrutiny committee to consider in future, then please do let me know, and we'll do all we can to accommodate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Trudy, for that.
Yeah,
right. So
thanks, Trudy.
Can we now agree the recommendations are set out on page 141 of the report, please?
Agreed.
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 Fabulous. So can we move to number 13? Risk management update. Laura Williams is going to provide us with the risk management update. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you very much, Chair. So this again is one of the regular reports that we present to you, really to setting out 3 objectives today, really. One is talking very much about the progress that we continue to make in embedding the system of corporate risk management into the organisation. We've also taken the opportunity, and again, members may remember that we brought an updated risk management policy to the March meeting, but we have taken the opportunity since new risk manager has come into post to undertake a further update and to present a further updated policy to you to get today for approval. And finally, to accommodate the changes in the organisation's risk appetite and framework as a result of particularly of coronavirus, but not exclusively, and to show how that has been reflected within the updated corporate risk register. I think as a general set of comments, I would say that there's been some very positive progress made in terms of embedding the system of corporate risk management into the organisation. As I say, not least that the organisation has sought to give dedicated resource to that now with the appointment of Natasha Bryan, our risk manager, and that has been a great step forward. But I think we've also seen, and perhaps the pandemic has helped to sharpen our focus on this as an organisation, we've seen a much greater engagement with the system of corporate risk management. And one of the other things that we have done is to bring in a risk group where officers get together and consider risk issues in some depth of detail, and that again has been a very positive move forward. Members will note that the corporate risk register has been updated and is presented for you with the key changes highlighted within the body of the report for you. I'm very happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Laura, for that report. Do members have any comments?
No one has indicated they wish to speak so far, Councillor Whitley.
Thank you, Trudy. Can we now agree the recommendations as set out on page 185 of the report, please?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you, everyone. So number 14, external audit plan 2019 to 20. Sarah Johnston, Assistant Director for Finance, is going to take us through the external audit plan for 2019-20. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Chair. This is an update to a report that was presented to the members of the committee back in March 2020. The report presented is substantially the same as that previous report. However, with the consequence of COVID-19 pandemic, there have been changes to the timescales for the production and audit of the statutory accounts. And essentially, the document you are presented with simply reflects the change to those dates, which is the publication of accounts by the end of August, with the audit period running to the end of November. If members have any particular questions they'd like to ask, I'm happy to answer them. We also have Mark Outerside from Mazars at the meeting as well, who may be able to answer any questions members may have.
Thank you, Sarah. Do members have any questions or comments?
No one has indicated they wish to speak so far, Councillor Whitley.
Thank you, Trudy. So can members please agree the recommendations are set out on page 227 of the report?
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, thank you for that. So can I now declare the meeting closed and thank you for attending. Please note that the next meeting of the Audit and Governance Committee will be held on the 14th of November 2020 at 2 p.m. Thanks for your attendance, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you. Well done.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Edna.
Bye.
Well done.